Spurs to get anything out of this, they're going to have to catch Liverpool on a very poor day. That hasn't happened much this season, has it?
No.
You know, so they're asking a lot.
Yeah, it is asking an awful. Have only won one of their last 4 matches. They're currently in 7th place, and they're 6 points behind the team in that battle for Champions League places. Here at Selhurst Park, we've got players warming up in front of us for 2, Mikel Arteta and Roy Hodgson, with that huge age gap between them, just pondering what they will deliver as last final words before their 2 sets of players. Let's hear from those 2 managers then. Roy Hodgson, who's 72, and Mikel Arteta, 37.
I'm more than happy with our current situation, and I'd be more than happy to have a photograph of our place in the league and how close we are to the top teams. The only relevance is really going to be what the table looks like in May, and we know we've got an awful lot of games, an awful lot of to play before that day arrives, and it's always pleasant to be going into the next game in a comfortable sort of position.
First thing I wanted to change was the energy around the team and around the club as well. I think this is slightly better than how it was, I would say. Obviously the fact that we are winning games obviously helps.
They're a big club. Not only a big club traditionally, they're a big club in it. I have enormous respect for Arsenal, the way that they've conducted themselves through the years, right back to the days of Stapleton and Brady. So I think Arsenal are one of the mainstays of our Premier League, of our top division, of our elite.
Every time I played there as a player, it was always tough. It's a very complicated stadium. He's a manager with an incredible experience, and what he's doing there again, it's very impressive, and it will be tough.
Well, those are the thoughts of the 2 managers. Talked a lot about the age difference between them, the biggest gap between 2 Premier League managers in the history of the Premier League itself. Mikel Arteta, it's early days, obviously. They were against Manchester United, and we said it about Manchester United. You said it a moment ago. They didn't play particularly well against Leeds, who are a very, very good champ, likely to be promoted, but they won that cup tie, and that's a good sign, isn't it?
That's the difference. The Arsenal side a while ago would have gone under. And half performance gave them so much, because they got battered in the first half, but they were still in the game, and that's what mattered. It was still 0-0. Then they went out in the second half and hung on, and that's a real positive, because they were committed. I think what he's changed is the physical demands. They are committed. They do compete now. They do stick their foot in now. They do stay in games now. And he's changed the mindset in a very short space of time. You kind of know what they are. More memory.
Somebody said that it's epitomised by David Luiz, who looks a little bit rejuvenated under Mikel Arteta, and you could probably maybe say the same thing about Messi. He seems to be getting the best. I mean, you shouldn't really have to coax things out of these players, but he does seem to be rejuvenating.
Do you know what it is, John? It's clarity. I mean, under the previous manager, there was a lot of information to take on board, and players are simple folk. Give them it's the truth. Give them very simple instructions and their own ability and their understanding, and you'll have decent players. The ones that you can see look confused is because they're under the fog of so much information. And what he's done is he's given them simple guidelines. Ozil, I reckon he's gone and said to him, I want you to run about. I just want you to. It's very simple things like that. You don't have to fill their head. I know you're a great player, but show me it. And do it more often. And he's given them just simple guidelines, and they seem to have taken to it.
Yeah, they do. You heard it from an ex-former. Players are simple folk.
We are simple folk.
Well, there's a group of simple folk in the tunnel at the moment.
So you're going to use that.
Waiting to come out at Selhurst Park for the first Premier League game of this Saturday. It's Crystal Palace against Arsenal, and it's coming up for you in a moment on Premier League Live.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, Monday morning from 6 on Talk Sport.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Later it's Polly and Bookies. Most excellent pay.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, Monday morning from 6.
Bring your neck in, Alan, that's enough. Durham.
That's brilliant.
Well, he's the king of the gingers, yeah. The TalkSport VIP. Reached the top with his carrot mop and his tall and freckly. He's on every day with coffee. For top fast bowling chat.
You're not wrong.
For six with a sporting mix from the middle of the cricket bat. Oh, I want to be like you.
What have you said now?
I want to get ahead to treasure too. You see it's true.
I've had enough of it.
Someone like me.
Don't talk about that.
Can live Durham like you.
Join the kings of the sporting jungle. Adrian Durham and Darren Goff. Weekday afternoons from 4.
That's talking about, man.
Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs on Sport. TalkSport. It's the double O duo on the radio show that's like a collapsible bridge-infested pool of big names, sporting headlines, and topical debate. Join Paul Alligator Hopscotch and Andy Oddjob Jacobs, flying the plane of sporting entertainment out of the horse's bum of conventional radio.
Have we got Pussy Galore on the show, Andy?
No, Paul. Macklin's American Sports Roundup. Will that do?
Not really, Andy, no.
Hawksby and Jacobs, shaken but not stirred. Weekday afternoons from 1. Sport.
You've reached the voicemail of Alan Brazil.
If you're lucky, you just might catch the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast.
If you know it.
A solid Scottish bon vivant, he's been there, seen it, drunk it. Today's a friendly bookie, and life's an all-day junket. He put a monkey on a horse, didn't make the course. Oh, Alan!
They call me the Tartan Pimpernel.
It's a comic daily steeplechase of tartan joviality, proper wedge of wonder and corporate hospitality. It's a full day's toil when you're always on the boil, like Alan.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. TalkSport's national treasure. Available across the UK in wine bars, hospitality tents, bookies, and on TalkSport.
Join me Monday morning from 6 o'clock.
Hopefully.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Cheers.
Sport.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Crystal Palace Arsenal from Selhurst Park. I'm your host, John Anderson. Alongside me is the former Charlton, Aston Villa and Palace winger Paul Mortimer. This Premier League Live. The two teams out on the centre in South London. Crystal Palace, a famous game. The great exhibition of 1861 was staged at Crystal Palace when Queen Victoria was on the throne. It's a traditional old versus Arsenal, who originally came from South London across the way in Woolwich before moving north in the 20s. Crystal Palace have had the upper hand when Unai Emery was in charge of Arsenal. They've gone 3 unbeaten against us, although their record here against them is not as good. They've only won 1 of the last 16 meetings. That was a handsome 3-0 win for 2017. One strong feature of this matchup, though, is that the last 5 games between Crystal Palace and Arsenal have produced 20 goals at nearly 5 a game. So that would be potentially something to look forward to. And Palace haven't scored many this season. Only Watford have scored fewer in the Premier League, and yet Watford are second from bottom and Palace are 9th from top. Arsenal currently below them in 10th. That would change were Arsenal to get at least a point today, because they have a superior goal difference to Roy Hodgson's men. Mikel Arteta's black jacket and jet black hair is sitting in his seat. Roy Hodgson alongside him, talking about how much he respects the institution and as a club generally. The referee this afternoon is Paul Tierney. You've just heard him blow his whistle, which means that we're underway. Arsenal are wearing, and glad to say, it's what I would call Arsenal's proper change strip, yellow shirts and dark shorts, and immediately Pierre-Emerick's sortie down the left-hand side has led to a corner, although the Crystal Palace players are complaining to the referee that they felt the ball had crossed the line before and clipped it in, and they might well be right, but of course you can't VAR that kind of decision, so it will be a corner. I think they are right.
I think they're right.
And the referee, it is a corner to Arsenal. Palace will be furious if this leads to a goal. It's Mesut Ozil who's going to take it with a left foot, and out I just wonder whether the referee realised he made a mistake.
I think he did.
I didn't see much happening in the box, and he's given a free kick to Palace.
I really think he did. Very weak refereeing decision. I think he knows he's made an error, and he's just evened it up, which is unfair on Arsenal, really.
Yes, well, it is. But this is ever from the Holmesdale Road end at Selhurst Park, one of the noisiest sections you'll find in the Premier League. I'll run you through the two lineups if you've in just a moment, but the game has started with plenty of action. It's gone out of play now. Palace have Vicente Caita in goal. The back four is Martin Kelly, James Tom Cahill and Jairo Riedewald. As the ball is at the feet of Bernd Leno, plays it to David Luiz. You never know what situations with goalkeepers these days, but Arsenal have dealt with that fine. The midfield for Palace is James MacArthur, heels away. Xhaka is dispossessed by Ayew, but Ayew goes down. It's going to be Timothy Wareham. He's watching and listening from New Prague, Minnesota. And I met someone from Minnesota in a pub in London Bridge the other day.
Well, you meet all sorts.
I do, you do. Yeah, it was nice. It was on New Year's Day. My briefs went for a very quick beer. It was supposed to be. And
it's always the theory.
Lasting rather longer than we thought. Anyway, here's Socrates playing it back to Bernd Leno. We've had 10 minutes at Selhurst. Plenty more action coming up for you this afternoon. Manchester United Norwich is our featured 3 o'clock kickoff, followed by the big one, Tottenham against Liverpool at 5:30. Here's Granit Xhaka finding David Luiz. Palace, I think, will be happy with a point given the amount of injuries they've got. It's such a frustration for a manager when so many players are unfit at the same time, and of course Milivojevic's suspension doesn't help.
He's a huge loss.
Yeah.
Arsenal steers the ship, doesn't he? It takes responsibility. So yeah, I mean, it was a silly thing for him to do, push his head into the opponent. But feel his loss. I've got to say, it changes the way they play a little bit.
Yeah. I may be getting this wrong. It looks fantastic.
Who's he making that for?
Well, I think he's working in
the 5,000. God, dear.
Well, they're big appetites, Americans.
They have, haven't they? Yeah.
So you come to London, the portions are half American.
He's making it for himself.
Everything's supersized. Maybe he's just woken up very hungry.
Yeah, that's a snack. That's a snack.
Great stuff, yeah, we enjoy that kind of stuff. Philip Kayaduna listening in Accra in Ghana, hoping Arsenal win this afternoon. Come on, you Gunners. So far, so good for you. Otadat Education Consult. I relax in my sofa listening live in Accra. Hope Arsenal get maximum points. It's going very well.
isn't quite right. And it's about just beginning to work out what he can do with his players to put more pressure on Arsenal, because at the moment we could play for Arsenal, me and you, because they don't need to run around. There is no Palace player really, causing them an issue.
You could.
Hey, listen, you could too, my friend, I'll tell you that.
Not be involved. I wasn't even great when I was young. I was okay. Pub level. I used to play for pub teams on a Sunday morning. I was better at five-a-side. Anyway, 20 minutes gone. Peter Kelly points out that restaurant we were talking about is a Jamaican restaurant. So that's in, I think, in New York City. We're just looking at the goal again. It's beautifully, calmly taken by Aubameyang, isn't it? I mean, and also well set up by Lacazette. But Kelly wasn't very tight, was he? First touch was glorious, and he found the net.
Well, Kelly's had problems.
Very well.
Defenders have problems if in front of them the opposing side's players have time on the ball, because they have to drop off. They cannot stay tight when the opposition have time on the ball. It's page 1, number 1A of defending. You cannot squeeze the game up if your opponents have time on the ball, because they can pick passes, which is what Arsenal are doing. They will.
Brent Parker says, can you hear that goal in Australia? Come on, you Gunners, up Arsenal. I heard it all the way in Montana. T-Bone from Osaka in Japan, and looking forward to an Arsenal win. It would be remiss of you not to mention Mikel Arteta is having another perfect hair day. His hair doesn't move, does it?
I'm telling you.
You're right.
I'm telling you now, it's Barbie Ken hair.
I don't know. Yeah, it is. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. I don't know if you remember. You probably do. We had Action Man.
I was just about to say. Action Man, yeah.
I don't know if our listeners are probably old enough like us to remember that. It was like a sort of toy soldier thing, but his hair was exactly like Mikel Arteta's
And there's
hair.
a wind on today.
Yeah, there is a wind.
There is a wind, and it's not happening at all.
Who doesn't have a hair out of play. Not true of David Luiz, who's just played the ball back to his keeper.
Here's a conspiracy theory.
By the way, great to have listeners in Japan as well. Big year for you with the Olympics in Tokyo coming up.
Arteta's hair. Answer on the postcard. Is it or is it not a wig?
It
doesn't move. It doesn't move.
Stuck on. It's, I know. It's sort of got a sheen to it as well, a sort of shiny black hair, isn't it?
I'm telling you, it's
brilliantined, I think, is the word for that sort of.
It's hair. A wig. He's got his windy wig on.
Oh, now the Palace fans are holding up a banner. It says "Killing the passion, killing the atmosphere." I'm sure they're talking about VAR.
Yeah, I think we know what they're
talking about. Sure they are. And this is interesting now, because supporters are beginning to vent their feelings about this and say, look, we're just fed up with it. It is spoiling our enjoyment.
It is.
We've all had a hard week at work.
That's right.
We come on a Saturday every week to support our club, to mixing with our fellow supporters, having a few beers, and this is spoiling our enjoyment of the game. And I think we've reached that point with VAR.
I agree.
And that incident last night at Bramall Lane was a classic case in point.
Well,
not, as we say, it's not VAR.
No.
It's the lawmakers. You've got to start being a little bit more. It's almost like the laws are being set by people who don't really like football or haven't really watched it.
I totally agree. And you know what? They've got to take responsibility to acknowledge that it's not working. We need to find a way. And they need to talk to fans. Do you know, the thing that gets me, John, is we're one of the last places in Europe to implement it. I think Spain are.
VAR. To be honest, in that instance, VAR did the right thing. It spotted something that the referee hadn't spotted, and it was a clear and obvious error in the implementation of the laws, absurd as the laws may be. But that is a fact.
Inconsistent. I think one of the last games we did was, I think, Arsenal-Bournemouth, and there was a blatant handball in the penalty area. Willock, it hit him on the hand. And nothing was done about that. So it's the inconsistencies as well that baffle you a little bit, because yesterday the ball was headed onto someone's hand, and that's handball. That doesn't make sense.
But I mean, as a supporter of Watford, we've had two incidences this season where handballs haven't been spotted. The one at Southampton, there was one at Newcastle. Both led to goals.
Doesn't make sense.
Clearly the ball hit an arm in the build-up. Both goals should have been disallowed under the rules, and yet the problem was VAR hadn't actually seen it.
It's the inconsistencies for me.
It's trying to apply robotics to a sport that is anything but.
Yes, I agree.
Football is about passion. It's about unpredictability. It's about pace and speed and skill. It's not about
jeopardy.
Finite
lines. In it,
kind of nonsense.
There's jeopardy in it. I mean, jeopardy is why people phone programs and sit in the pub and talk about things that aren't quite right. But this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyway, here come Palace with the first chance to get forward in the entire game. It's Jordan Ayew. There's a Herrera, and he's found Maya plays it across out wide. This is Wilfried Zaha. We've barely seen anything of him. He's the man that Arsenal fear. Certainly, he's been impressive against them down the years. He's linked with a move to Chelsea, of course, for £80 million. But he's barely featured in this game, and that ball that he played to cross towards McCarthy was not controlled correctly by McCarthy, and Arsenal got it away.
Yeah, that was David Luiz giving the ball away on the halfway line. Again, when it's this easy sometimes for Arsenal, it's about complacency. It's keeping alert, keeping playing and keeping it moving. And it took a gamble and it didn't pay off, and that's why Ayew won the ball. They've got to keep playing, Arsenal, because at this moment in time, Palace are finding it difficult to work them out.
Yeah, 26 minutes gone. Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 1. We've got another listener in Japan here. Niall Gibson is listening in Kyoto. He says, we don't talk about VAR here. It's a sensitive topic. Lucky you. We don't talk about anything else now, do we? Me and Paul have just spent 5 minutes wittering on about it. And it's just every week and every game. And, well, as I say, they demonstrate the fans are prepared to make banners and hold them up at grounds. That tells you everything you need to know. I mean, the fans are the people who matter. They're the lifeblood of the game. They always will be. They'll still be here long after everyone. There'll still be fans at football grounds in 150 years' time. Anyway, ball forward by Palace, poor one. They really haven't created anything of note yet. I mean, they haven't had a single effort of any note, and they've barely been inside the Arsenal penalty area. It's been so easy for Mikel Arteta's men so far.
One of the things I wrote down was Zaha versus Maitland-Niles. I thought that was going to be, because Maitland-Niles is a decent defender, but he's also very raw and he gambles. But it just hasn't happened. It seems that Zaha's sort of playing more than wide. I thought that they would have been isolated, left him out there, 1v1, go and take him on, but it hasn't happened.
Oh, hang on, here's Maya trying to latch onto, allowed to do so by David Luiz. Awkward for Cahill, who is a good defender, and I think it's been an excellent purchase for Crystal Palace, despite the fact that he's now 34 years of age. He turned 34 last month. He gets it back to the goalkeeper. Here's Meyer. Seems to be a little bit more purpose about Palace in this or so, although Kelly's given it away to Kolasinac. Kolasinac goes down. Was he fouled? I don't think he was. Not the referee, and rightly so. Play goes on. The ball ends up out of play.
He looks like he's in pain, but I don't know what's
holding his head. He tried to do a little flick back.
Still got no clue.
Oh, hang on. Kouyaté ended up just brushing his head as he jumped
initially,
over
though. The head bit comes in after, but initially he went down, he's holding his ankle. So his ankle stroke
his ankle and his head just to cover his options.
Oh, look, he's fine. He's back on his feet. Oh, no.
Neither his ankle nor his head are sufficiently damaged to prevent him from carrying. Well, here's Leno wearing all lime greens, had nothing to do. Socrates gets the ball forward. Arsenal lose it, and suddenly here's Jordan Ayew, Palace's top scorer. They've relied on him and Zaha for goals this season. In comes the cross. It's nodded away by Maitland-Niles, and then a big leap away. I think it was it who got up there, and it was, I think, and two Arsenal players have collided with each other in the penalty area. Torreira is certainly one of them, and there was a big crash to earth from those two. They went up together. We're looking at it again now on our monitors. It's Torreira and Pepe, and as Torreira went up, Pepe stooped down and He's got a kick in the face from
but
Torreira's
Zaha
boot.
gives him a nudge. That's the gives him a nudge, and and while Torreira's in the air, he gets a knock. And you know what that's like when you're in the air and you change direction. By default, you now can't control how you land. So he's landed on him right on the small of his back. That is so painful, I have to say.
Yeah. Al-Haji Never Guilty, I'm sure that's not your real surname, says it's always amazing listening to you guys commentating, especially when work won't allow you to see the match. I'm hoping for an Arsenal victory, 3-1 from Suleiman, that is, in Ibadan, Nigeria. Well, I suppose it's reasonable that you can't watch football at work. I don't know, we're lucky because we that's what we do.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm glad you're listening to us. Arsenal leading by 1-0. We've had half an hour, but there's a stoppage here. Paul Tierney's got the ball in his hands. He's going to invite Mesut Ozil, I think, just to knock it back to Bernard.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a contested drop ball. They don't happen anymore. They're extinct now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are pretty much.
Don't get it.
Yeah. No, well, if it hits the referee, I'm not sure if there's any other kind of stuff. They do seem to be uncontested now.
Well, it was
they used to be
ball.
Quite amusing, didn't they? Drop the ball and there'd be legs flying all over the place.
Fantastic competition.
Here's Leno clearing it for Arsenal. Fans booing the fact that they feel that Palace have got a little bit of a raw deal there. Luis heads it. It's a lovely touch towards Lacazette. Doesn't quite come off from Ozil. Ball back is long by Palace. Leno claims it. Arsenal have drawn their last two away Premier League games at Bournemouth and at Everton. They're looking to win this one to improve a tally of only 2 wins away from home all season. One of those was on the opening day back in August, which seems a long time ago. Martin Ibibia Arteta has the Arsenal DNA. He can bring us out of the woods gradually and slowly. Listening in Port Harcourt. Well, as I did say, it was early days, but certainly he's a man who knows the club well. He actually featured in a game against Crystal Palace as an Arsenal player, which ended up 2-0. He both scored and was sent off in that game, Arteta, and as an Arsenal player he won all 5 of his games against Crystal Palace, and he's winning this one as a manager so far. Maya trying to find a way through, out to Zaha, trying to get past Pepe. Zaha brings it back again to MacArthur with a very poor ball. Palace just can't seem to produce anything at all in and around the penalty area whatsoever. The problem what he was trying to do there.
In the middle of the park, MacArthur, Kouyaté and McCarthy are not creative players, so they're hoping Maya and Zaha get on the ball, and they're slightly wider. Maya's coming in off the wing a little bit. Zaha's staying wide and really hasn't been in the game as much as you would hope. They've got 3 soldiers in midfield, and they need to have a little bit more creativity.
Ozil trying to flick it over the top. It's not a very good ball, and Cahill will knock it back.
It's a terrible back pass.
It wasn't a good back pass. The keeper was off balance. He's hoisted it full. He's done well actually off his left foot, off balance. The keeper there to get it as far as he did. Free kick to Palace. Davis and Hugo Chukwu having a great day at work today with you guys, making my day. Happy New Year, John. Thank you, Davison. Same to you. I think VAR should go in the Premier League, or they should make adjustments to it, allow the rest to use the screen and make the decisions on their own. I'm totally in agreement with that. Referees are human beings, they're not infallible. Let them judge certain things. Let them judge whether a handball is actually crucial in creating a goal, or whether it's an accidental handball that makes no difference.
Well, at least let them review it. At least let them review it by themselves. Because they've got their finger on the pulse of the game. They understand what's going on. When you're in Stockley Park, you don't have that.
No. Stockley Park, we should point out, is the hub. It's near to Heathrow Airport in West London, where the VAR office is, where they sit and watch. They don't do it on site at the ground. They do in some competitions, but not in the Premier League. So you could have a game in Newcastle and decisions are being made sort of 250 miles south. Free kick to Palace. Into the box it comes. It's nodded away by Arsenal. It's hit by Jairo Riedewald. It almost spun through to Max Meyer. Riedewald, who's started the last 3 games. Now then, Palace are claiming a handball here, and David Luiz is pointing to his head and saying, I headed it, it didn't hit my hand at all. We're getting another look at it now. It was hooked by Kouyaté. Ooh,
that's
well,
handball.
It did hit his hand.
That's handball.
And I'm not sure that's a natural position.
Handball.
Now, that has not been VAR'd,
and
that is a potential penalty. It definitely did hit his hand, and it was raised a little bit.
He's got his arm up there where it doesn't need to be.
But he's pointing at his head, which is disingenuous, because that's completely untrue.
It's handball.
Well, and again, you're thinking, well, why isn't the VAR saying to the referee, let's have another? Don't understand. I mean, you talked about inconsistency. It's another one.
That's the problem.
I mean, Palace, frankly, don't really deserve an equaliser, but they should have had a chance, perhaps, at getting one there.
The problem you have is when they look back on their clips of games and they see that, they'll question why that's not been.
Well, they will. I mean, and rightly so. I mean, a lot of the Palace players were hopping up and down. Anyway, here's Kolasinac for Arsenal at the other end. He's not on the same wavelength as Aubameyang. This game's become a bit scrappy, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Arsenal are not as fluent as they were in the opening 20 minutes. Kolasinac, as you say, Paul, has gone down. I think he certainly was fouled by James Tomkins. But we've got 10 minutes to go, and the first half has just drifted into a bit of a mess.
Again.
Yeah.
It was scrappy to start with. Arsenal sort of tightened up, and that's how they got their goal. They started playing good, focused football. At the moment, I can't say it's Palace that have stepped up, but it's almost like Arsenal have just
got worse.
Yeah, they've faded a little bit, haven't they? From that tempo that they had. Strange, because you would be bloodier. You'd be saying, they're struggling, Palace, let's get after them, but it hasn't happened.
Mesut Ozil is lining up a free kick. David Luiz, Granit Xhaka around the area. Mesut Ozil, as we know, the German World Cup winner, has the ability with his left foot to produce some pretty tantalising deliveries from these sort of situations. Takes a couple of steps and flicks it into the box. It's headed away by Kelly and then back in, and Aubameyang tries to volley it, but Tomkins is there to block him, and then he and Riedewald contrive to get the ball away for Crystal Palace. Zaha's done really well to keep the ball in on the far side, but Torreira has also done well to deny the throw-ins being given Arsenal's way, which Zaha, it's an understatement, is not very happy about, but it is the correct decision.
It's actually right. It's the right decision.
Arsenal take the throw. It's wasted. Tucked away out of play by Gary Cahill. Arsenal will now have a throw-in level with the edge of the penalty area on the far side at Selhurst Park. It's going to be taken by Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And again, it's blocked and out of play it goes once again. Arsenal looking to beat Palace for the first time in 4 games, having lost 1 and drawn 2 of the previous 3. Unai Emery was never a winner against Palace in his stint as Arsenal boss. Away by Palace. David Luiz with a cushioned header, flicked by Granit Xhaka. Aubameyang tries to get there, but Kelly is above him, but Kolasinac has got forward. Very good tackle indeed, though, by James McArthur for Crystal Palace, and suddenly they're looking to get on their way with Kouyaté, brought down by Aubameyang, and that's going to be a free kick to Crystal Palace. 38 minutes played. Arsenal have kept clean sheets in their last 2 games, which is another encouraging sign under Mikel Arteta, and yet to concede here. They had previously only kept 1 clean sheet in 17, so that is a massive improvement. Kept out Manchester United and Leeds in the FA Cup on Monday. Here's McCarthy with a free kick for Palace. David Luiz, the dominant player on the edge of the box, gets the header away, pushes his man over and concedes a free kick. James McArthur was the player who was shoved in the back clearly by Alexandre Lacazette, who hasn't scored in the Premier League since early last month against Brighton. McArthur standing over the ball. It's dead centre, midway inside the Arsenal half. McArthur clips it away to his left-hand side, where Veld, the Dutch right back, plays it back to him, and all of the momentum goes out of that. That's a wasted free kick, isn't it? They played it back, then played it long, and it's ended up in the arms of Bernd Leno.
A waste. I mean, you know, sometimes just put it in the box. Sometimes just get it in there. And, you know, Arsenal's defending is not great from set pieces. Just go and put it in there, put them under pressure. You know, this desire to want to pass the ball about outside the box and try to work that opening when we're not good enough to do that. Put it in the box and let's work it out from there.
Well, this game has fizzled out terribly, really. So the last 5 minutes of the first half restore it to a little bit more of its former glory. Hooked away by Socrates, one of the scorers when Palace held Arsenal at the Emirates earlier this season, back in September I think it was. Riedewald with the throw around him and manages to find MacArthur. It's a nice turn by him, but took two Arsenal defenders to stop him, but the ball is still loose in the Arsenal box. Here's Kouyaté, shoots. Oh, Leno. Well, he should have held it, but he didn't, and fortunately for him it wasn't costly. Kouyaté with the first effort on goal of any note from Crystal Palace, and Bernd Leno, well, he's just flapped at it and pushed it to his left, and if there had been anyone there in a blue and red shirt, that could have been calamitous for Arsenal.
Well, there's a sloppiness and a scrappiness about Arsenal's play at the moment, and you know that scrappiness on the ball could have allowed Palace to have scored there. I mean, even Leno doesn't catch it properly.
No,
it's very scrappy, and it's a mental mindset of Arsenal to really keep driving at the game and keep working and keep moving the ball. All of a sudden, look, Socrates just hoofs it up the pitch, and I don't understand it.
It's like they've run out of ideas. Arsenal haven't got the goal. They were playing well up to that point. Leno started the last 52 Premier League games. So you just wonder whether Emiliano Martinez, who's done okay and played quite well against Leeds in the Cup on Monday, might start creeping into Mikel Arteta's thoughts. Every time I see Leno, I'm not entirely convinced that he's the right man for the job. But anyway, Cahill clears for Palace. Luis does well, but then loses it after an initial good touch, and Jordan Ayew has it for Palace. Another wearing gloves on this blustery Saturday afternoon, 12 minutes past 1 o'clock.
Good play from Ayew, but he's got to move the ball quicker. He's now moved it, he's ran with it really well, head up, Max Myers on, set up and go, but he's tried, and when he does that, it allows our two players are on him and crowding him out. It's fortunate to get the free kick there.
Palace have come into the game a little bit more in the last 5 minutes or so. They've got another free kick situation here with James McCarthy. Will take, he plays it into the box, it's only half clear. Tompkins can't get there though. Torreira scoops it away. Riedewald trying to shepherd the ball into touch, which he does successfully to win a throw-in on halfway for Crystal Palace. Gary Cahill goes all the way back to Vicente Gaeta, the Crystal Palace number one, who's now not kept a clean sheet in 6 games consecutively, having conceded that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang goal in the 12th minute, which he had absolutely no chance of saving whatsoever.
And this is the man Arsenal need to get on the ball. Mesut Ozil, finding time and space for him to weave his magic at the moment. I don't know if it's by default or by design that Palace are tighter and to the point. It's sort of they've closed areas down, but is that because Arsenal haven't run about as much as they did before? I don't know.
Here's Maya for Crystal Palace, former Schalke player. He's only ever scored 1 Premier League goal. This is his 12th appearance of the season. Cahill from the back finds Zaha, who's been pretty ineffectual by his high standards in the first 43 minutes of this game. Here's McCarthy finding Zaha with a chance maybe to run at Arsenal. What they've done well on Zaha, I think, is you mentioned the tussle with Maitland-Niles, but whenever Zaha does get the ball, Torreira's never too far away either, is he helping out?
Because what they know is Zaha's not going to move it quickly. He's going to take a touch and try and deliver some magic. So what happens there, Maitland-Niles and Pepe, they slow him down, and then Torreira comes in with a biting tackle.
Yeah, they've done a number. They know that he's the man that can cause them real problems. Wilfried Zaha scored in a 3-2 win for Palace at Arsenal last season. but he's always been a thorn in their side. He's been linked with an £80 million move to Chelsea. The sticking point seems to be at the moment whether Chelsea to pay that much or whether Palace would be willing to back down. There certainly appears to be some sort of impasse regarding the fee of Palace want and what Chelsea may be prepared to pay. Here's Ayew, beat to it by Xhaka. Maitland-Niles right hand side inside his own half, plays a Paul Jairo Riedewald with a shock of black hair, intercepts, and Cahill again goes safety first back to his goalkeeper Gaeta, who hoists it halfway. We're in the last minute of the 45. There may be a little bit added on. Ball flicked forward of Kratis. Torreira turns, but the ball is won by Kouyaté, who does really well. And here's McCarthy finding Wilfred. Back it goes to Riedewald, and he manages to find McCarthy again. Zaha, we're into stoppage time. There'll be 2 minutes of it. Mark Tompkins, who scored in Palace's win on Boxing Day against West Ham United, hoists the ball forward. He's also a former scorer against Arsenal in the game I mentioned, which Wilfried Zaha also scored in when they won 3-2, and got a decent record against Arsenal in the last couple of seasons. It's been a disappointing game, this one. It started well with Arsenal bright. They got an excellent goal. Have become, I don't know whether they've become complacent or just unable to produce any good ideas, but they've certainly ebbed away as an attacking force, haven't they?
Well, you know, they were getting time and space on the ball, and they're not now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's probably down to Palace, isn't it? More than you know, they've had close. There were some alarming gaps, weren't they? First 15 minutes, particularly. Palace fans are a bit annoyed that Zaha has played the ball backwards here because they've only got a few seconds left. Ball is into the box. Oh, David Luiz with a poor header, and Ayew can't get through. Well, Socrates rescued his central defensive partner. There was a very weak header by David Luiz. It came off his forehead and nearly dropped for Ayew, and Socrates did well to use his strength to hold off Jordan Ayew and prevent him getting a shot away. Fact remains, though, that Palace have had one attempt on goal in the entire match so far, and they are the lowest home scorers in the Premier League with only 9. Aubameyang for Arsenal, last chance of the game surely. Onto the Gunners absolutely ran the show, but a combination of Palace improving and Arsenal taking their foot off the gas a little bit in this game. At half time it's Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 1 on Premier League Live.
The Sports Breakfast, Monday morning from 6 on Talk Sport.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, wonderful day. Later and bookies, all for most excellent pay.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, Monday morning from 6.
Ring your neck in, Alan, that's enough.
On Talk Sport.
That's brilliant. Well, he's the king of the gingers, yeah, the TalkSport VIP. He's reached the top with his carrot mop and his tall and freckly. He's on every day with coffee. The top fast bowling chat. Not wrong. They'll hit you for 6 with a sporting mix from the middle of their cricket bat. Oh, I want to be like you.
What have you said now?
I want a ginger, a head that's treasure too. You see it's true.
I've had enough of it.
Someone like me.
Don't talk about that.
Can learn to be like Durham, like you.
Join the kings of the sporting jungle. Adrian Durham, weekday afternoons from 4.
That's Talk Sport I'm talking about, man.
Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs on Sport. Talk Sport. It's the double O duo on the radio show that's like a collapsible bridge over a shark-infested pool of big names, sporting headlines, and topical debate. Join Paul Alligator Hopscotch Hawksby and Andy Oddjob Jacobs, flying the plane of sporting entertainment out of the horse's bum of conventional radio.
Have we got Pussy Galore on the show, Andy?
No, Paul, but we've got Todd Macklin's American Sports Roundup. Will that do?
Not really, Andy, no.
Hawksby and Jacobs, shaken, but weekday afternoons from 1 on TalkSport.
You've reached the voicemail of Alan Brazil.
If you're lucky, you just might be Alan Brazil's Sports Breakfast.
If you know where they look.
A solid Scottish bon vivant, he's been there, seen it, drunk it. Today's a friendly bookie, and life's an all-day junket. He put a monkey on a horse, that didn't make the course. Oh, Alan!
They call me the Tartan Pimpernel.
It's a beastful chase of tartan joviality, a proper wedge of wonder and corporate hospitality. It's a full day's toil when you're hard-boiled like Alan.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Talk Sports National Treasure. Available across the UK in wine bars, hospitality tents, bookies, and occasionally on Talk Sport.
Join me Monday morning from 6 o'clock.
Hopefully
on digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Cheers!
Talk Sport.
Welcome back. The half-time score here is Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 1. These were the highlights of the opening 45. Here's Lacazette, here's Aubameyang, and there's a goal for Arsenal. 12 minutes, and Aubameyang, who loves scoring in London derbies, has done it again. Aubameyang quickest to react, and a lovely cool finish from Arsenal's top scorer, his 16th goal of the season, and the opening goal here, Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal.
That's
well,
handball.
It did hit his hand.
That's handball.
And I'm not sure that's a natural position. Now, that has not been VAR'd,
and
that is a potential penalty. Turn by him. It took two Arsenal defenders to stop him, but the ball is still loose in the Arsenal box. Here's Kouyaté, shoots. Oh, Leno. Well, he should have held it, but he didn't. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't costly. Well, there you go. Not a huge amount of highlights, in truth. We've just been talking about it over a cup of tea, Paul and I. A strange kind of half. After 15 minutes, we're thinking this is a good game. This is potentially going to be very entertaining. There have been goals in clashes between Arsenal and Palace in recent seasons, but you made the point, Arsenal had so much space in the opening 50, embarrassing, and clearly Roy Hodgson got the message across. Palace tightened up, but of course they tightened up, but they didn't really create anything themselves either, did they?
Well, it was, the first third of the half, you're thinking, Arsenal, brilliant.
Yeah.
They're at will, they're passing through Palace, really capitalising it as much as they should have. They've got a goal, and that's fantastic, but then again, I spoke about in-game management. It was clear that Roy Hodgson's been on, and I can't quite recognise. I think all he's done is ask these players is to get sharper. When we haven't got the ball, be more alert and more urgent in your defending to the prominent Arsenal players. And that was, if you look at it, David Luiz and Socrates had a lot of the ball at the back. Arsenal Palace have stopped, so they've just pressed onto everything a little bit more, and you saw Socrates just hoofing the ball up the pitch in the end, and that was the change.
You mentioned actually in-game management. You said they would have to do it. He's a hugely experienced manager, and he did. Perhaps Arteta, who's learning his trade, it's not quite come to him yet, because Arsenal improve at all after, they seem bamboozled by the fact that Palace had tightened it up and offered them less space.
Yeah, Palace and denied them space. So now Arsenal have to work on counteracting that. Do they just all you've got to do there is do the same things but move the ball quicker? So whereas people touches, take one or two touch, and that's what negates the fact that people are tight against you, because if you come tight against me, the space then is in behind you. And not that, I'm under a bit of pressure here, but if I can exploit the space in behind you, then in order to do that, I have to move the ball at 1 and 2 touch.
Yeah.
And Arsenal haven't done that, and they've
been a little bit leggy, haven't they, in the last sort of 20 minutes or so. I'm sure when you were on your way here, you were thinking thinking, I bet I end up having to talk about VAR. And for incident here, and again, it's another puzzling aspect of VAR. The ball was bouncing in the Arsenal box. David Luiz put his arm up and the ball hit his arm. Now, is handball or not is open to debate, but I want to know why VAR, looking at that, didn't say to the referee, hang on a moment, might be a penalty, but they clearly didn't because nothing happened, and yet David Luiz pointed at his head to say I headed it. We looked at it again and the replays were fair. It didn't head it at all. It hit his arm. His arm certainly, I wouldn't say it was in an unnatural position, but it was neither in a natural position. It was raised.
Well, it wasn't where it should have been. You see, what happened was the guy was trying to flick the ball over his head.
Yeah.
And he headed the ball. He went to head the ball and missed it. And his
arm was up. So,
his arm was up.
But VAR, as we said, he's not in the ground. He's in a building in Stockley Park. It's Craig Pawson and Andy Halliday, incidentally, the VAR. Why do they decide not to? It puzzles me. I mean, there's no point in carrying on the debate.
It's
really.
the inconsistency.
It is inconsistent. Plenty more for you this afternoon. Manchester United against Norwich City is our featured game at 3:00 with Russ Hargreaves and Hogan Ephraim, and then an absolute up after that. Don't miss 5:30 local time. Tottenham Hotspur against Liverpool, the runaway leaders and champions elect. Tom Dave Kitson. Let's get a taste of that big game between two of the biggest managers in the game, Jose Mourinho and Jurgen Klopp.
Lots of injuries, but again, if I think about the injuries, if I think about who is not playing, I'm not as confident and motivated as I am. Focus on what we did during the week, the enthusiasm that the boys put in the work, the motivation that you must have to play against the best teams, because best teams, or you are confident or you are not confident.
The only thing what I can say, if we would have thought about any kind of record, we would not have won the number of games we. I think in sports, we have to ask probably other teams, they did it before, never set a record because of what, just because it happened, by being focused on each step you make.
I told that Liverpool was going to be champion, and this was like 3. So for me, the situation they are at is not a surprise for me, period. It's the best competition, and of course is a big challenge for us to play against them.
Jose Mourinho is a world-class manager with a specific mindset, I would say, so that you have to win with all he have from here to there. So, and that's I respect that a lot. So that means each situation his team is in, he tries to use for his team. Possibly because if you would be now Tottenham in the situation of us, and we come there. Now it's the other way around, so now he tries to use that. That's how football is. That's how managers work.
Well, an absolutely mouth-watering prospect. As Liverpool are 13 points ahead of Leicester City. Leicester, incidentally, are at home to much improved Southampton today. We've got all the other 3 o'clock kickoffs for you as well. Chelsea against Burnley. Burnley beginning to slip into danger. Everton, Carlo Ancelotti disappointing in the derby defeat against Liverpool in the FA Cup. They're at home to Brighton, another threatened side, and Wolverhampton Wanderers, they
It's the Double O Duo on the radio show that's like a collapsible bridge over a shark-infested pool of big names, sporting headlines, and topical.
Join Paul
of Alan Brazil.
If you're lucky, you just might catch the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast.
If you know where they live.
A solid Scottish Bon Vivant, seen a drunkard. Today's a friendly bookie, and life's an all-day junket. He put a monkey on a horse. That didn't make the course. Oh,
they call me the Tartan Pimpernel.
It's a comic daily steeplechase of tartan joviality. A proper wedge of wonder and hospitality. It's a full day's toil when you're always on the boil, like Alan.
The Alan Brazil Breakfast, Talk Sports National Treasure. Available across the UK in wine bars, hospitality tents, bookies, and occasionally on Talk Sport.
Join me Monday morning from 6 o'clock.
Hopefully.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Cheers!
Talk Sport.
Listening to TalkSport's coverage of Crystal Palace against Arsenal from Selhurst Park. I'm your host, John Anderson. Alongside me is the former Charlton Aston Villa winger, Paul Mortimer. This is Premier League Live. It's one of the narrowest tunnels in the Premier League from which the players are emerging for the second half. Arsenal in yellow shirts and blue shorts, leading by a goal to nil. 12 minutes by their top scorer, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who has taken his season's tally to 16 and incredibly has scored 9 of Arsenal's 12 Premier League away goals. The first 15 minutes belonged to the Gunners exclusively. Palace then tightened it up, and it looks like Matteo Guendouzi is going to come on for Arsenal at half-time. I wasn't aware of an injury. Presumably it'll be Xhaka or Torreira to come off, but Guendouzi has just put on his number 29 shirt. We're just waiting to see who it is who replaces it. Why? But clearly there is going to be a change by Arsenal at half-time. Mikel Arteta is dispensing a few final words to Guendouzi, and he comes onto the field for the second half.
Torreira, it looks like.
Torreira? Yes, I think you're right. Well, I can't believe that's tactical.
He must be
injured.
Yeah, he'd be fine.
Torreira is off, and Guendouzi, the Frenchman, comes on for Lucas Torreira, the diminutive Uruguayan, who has gone off for Arsenal. Change by them. Crystal Palace have Vicente Caíta in goal, a back four of Martin Kelly, James Tompkins, Gary Cahill and Jairo Riedewald. The midfield three is James MacArthur, Sheku Kayate and James McCarthy. In front of them, Max Meyer, Jordan Ayew and Wilfried Zaha. Arsenal have Bernd Leno in goal, four of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Socrates, David Luiz and Sead Kolasinac. The holding two is now Granit Xhaka and Matteo Guendouzi, and then it's Nicolas Pepe, Mesut Ozil, goalscorer Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexandre Lacazette. Here's Tompkins intercepting a through ball which was intended for Aubameyang. It's with Meyer on the far side, and that has been judged as a foul by the referee Paul Tierney, so play will come. David Luiz was committed that offence. Well, Torreira is sitting on the bench looking reasonably relaxed. I'm with you. I can't see why he would swap them over for any other reason that he's got some sort of injury problem.
You know, Guendouzi, I think, when he first came into the team was magnificent, but you know, he's lost his discipline more than anything else.
Tompkins heads on the free kick. Luis hesitated an Ayew. There's an offside, but that's not the first time, is it, that David Luiz's concentration inside
saying is hit his hand in the penalty area. Okay, unnatural position, questionable position. Whether it's under or not, it's questionable. Isn't that the kind of situation?
It ticks every box, doesn't it?
And like I said, it's inconsistencies. Who decides? It's a great question. Who decides what's relevant or not?
Well,
what is the criteria?
Well, it's anything that is deemed by the VAR official, and there are two of them, to be something that the referee's attention needs to be drawn towards. I mean, it is puzzling, and the listener there is absolutely right. I mean, we get these microscopic offside decisions that no referee could physically see. It's impossible. Scrutinised all the time, and as you say, you get a handball like that one with Luis, and nobody bothers to have a second look.
Honestly, you laugh at it, but it's not funny.
No, it isn't.
We're talking about, yesterday that cost West Ham a point. They struggle by a point at the end of the season. They'll look back at things like decisions that have been taken out of their hands that really were incorrect.
Header by James Tompkins drops to Wilfried Zaha, who was largely ineffective in the first half. Adekuni Perez Seunse commentary and cool analysis of the game from Ibadan, Nigeria, hoping Arsenal takes all 3 points. So your analysis is cool. It's just commentary.
And your commentary's cool as well. You're analysing stuff.
True. Here's Riedewald for Crystal Palace.
Scrappy.
Yeah, it has been a scrappy old game. Here's Zaha, who is capable of lifting a game out of its doldrums, and Kouyaté, that's better from Palace. Nice looking move until David Luiz got across just to nick the ball away from Jordan Ayew. Now then, Kouyaté's gone down after a challenge by Maitland-Niles, which is going to be punished by both a free kick and a yellow card for the Arsenal right fullback. Did he stamp on him, fall on him or something? It was a little bit
really soft yellow card.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll make a worse challenge than that in this half and get away with it now.
Yeah.
Some of the it's baffling.
That was just down to the referee. It's a free kick to Palace, though, in a useful position, and Jairo Riedewald, the 23-year-old former Ajax fullback, will take it with his left foot. It's a useful ball in. Good header away by David Luiz, to be fair. And then Pepe finds Lacazette. And Lacazette's aimless ball forward bounces a couple of times and goes out of play. It's a lovely delivery by Riedewald, and a good clearing header actually by David Luiz. Here's Riedewald again in a much deeper position, clipping it forward again with his left foot. Ayew tries to control it, knocked away by Arsenal. Nicolas Pepe looks to get on his bike, but Palace clear. Palace look a bit more purposeful in this second half, a bit more hungry certainly than the way they started the first half. This is MacArthur, peeling away is Maya just flicks it back, and Zaha is driving forward. Socrates was in the way. Socrates has been the better of the two Arsenal centre-halves today. He's been tidier than David Luiz. He got his partner out of jail a couple of times in the first half. Now then, here's McCarthy, and there's a foul by McCarthy on Guendouzi just as Max Meyer was licking his lips at the prospect of a run into the box. The referee blew his whistle.
It's better from Palace because and it's a very soft foul, but they're asking questions of Arsenal now, with Arsenal heading back towards their own goal, and that's what they need to do. They need to continue to question Arsenal, continue to challenge them in and around their own box, and just keep working at it, because getting Zaha in the game will be hugely important. They've not done enough of that.
It's 8 minutes into the second half. Here's Aubameyang, who scored the game's only goal so far, but losing the ball, and Jordan Ayew just peeling away. He's Palace's top scorer at 5 goals. He scored actually against Arsenal for 3 different clubs, Jordan Ayew, in his career. Swansea, Crystal Palace in the Premier League, and also scored against them for Marseille in European football. Palace fans singing away, trying to lift their team, impressed with what they've seen in the early part of the second half than what they did in the first part of the opening half. Here's Maya, right hand side, not a very good cross, but it manages to fly, and a chance, and a deflection, and a goal for Crystal Palace. They've equalised. It's Jordan Ayew with a shot which bounced up, looped, evaded Leno and ended up in the back of the net. And 9 minutes into the second half, Palace have level. Palace won. Arsenal won. Scruffy goal, but Roy Hodgson will take it all day long.
John, you're quite right. As in keeping with the game, I mean, he might be offside there. I tell you what, they're going to view that.
Well, Maya.
Yeah,
on the
Maya.
far side. Yeah.
And it's a scruffy cross.
It is.
It's a poor touch, and then it takes deflections off David Luiz.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is scruffy. The whole thing is scruffy. But they've registered a shot on target for now.
Well, normally I write down on a piece of paper, I've written down 0-1 Aubameyang 12. I was just about to write 1-1 Ayew, but I thought, I'll just have to scribble it out. But anyway, yes, you're right, it's one of the scruffiest goals you'll see. Jordan Ayew will claim his 6th goal of the season, and rightly so, because the shot was off. But I don't think it would have troubled Bernd Leno until it hit the bottom of David Luiz's heel and bounced up over the stricken keeper and into the back of the net. David Luiz can't believe it. I don't think we're going to get a VAR. No, we're not. The goal is given, so I can write down on my piece of paper 1-1 Ayew 50. Is it 59, 55? I beg your pardon. And Arsenal, who led early in the first half, have been pegged second half, and Palace, to be fair, have been much more purposeful in the second period. And,
they have.
You know, they all count. It's only their 10th goal of the campaign, but they are at least in double figures in the Premier League, and you can hear the South London voices celebrating that scrappy goal. It's dragged Palace back into the game. It'll keep Palace in the face of goal. It'll be kept in on this near side by the corner flag by Pepe, who finds Ozil. Pepe again, Guendouzi thinks about a shot. Instead he plays it into Lacazette, who tries to tease it past the backtracking. But a really good job to make sure that it was his goalkeeper and not Lacazette who got to the ball first.
Good play, a great touch from Lacazette. Rout just couldn't get on the end of it. As a midfielder, recovering back into his box, MacArthur does really well to shield the ball back into the keeper. But will this null up? Because it's almost like they've needed a shot in the arm. They've been really tepid in their play. They've just not really been as alert or dynamic or expansive or even confident going forward at the moment.
Now then, here's Maya with a chance. It was a knockdown by Ayew, and Maya just didn't get hold of it. Him spinning off the side of his right boot. It was a long ball forward by Riedewald, who's impressed me today. He's done well for Palace. Ayew did, but Maya certainly did.
Well, for Ayew, the ball's died, and the wind's caused havoc. He's edited it down beautifully, but you're never feeling that Maya had confidence in what he was doing. He didn't really go for it.
No, it was a messy finish. He only scored 180 odd appearances for Schalke, and he's yet to score for this season. He's only scored once in the tweets coming in. Some interesting ones as well. Adegboyega Adedeji says of Zaha, any club wanting to buy him is making a bad move. Zaha is overrated. He's not the sort of player that can turn around games. Not a grade A player. Interesting.
I think
he hasn't been very good today.
Not in this game at all today. He hasn't even done enough to be a bit part player, to be honest.
But I think he can turn the game. I think he strikes me as being sort of will score, and that was 5 minutes ago. So I think you got that tweet in before exactly that happened. So well done. That's Prediction of the Day award. Keep them coming. We've had some really good ones today. Here's David Luiz, who was the unfortunate player who much about that bouncing ball. It came off his heel and bounced up horribly. Now here's Ozil, who rather like Zaha hasn't had a huge impact on the game so far, but Pepe tries to cut it back. Cahill's there to get it behind for a corner, and suddenly the Arsenal fans find their voices with just short of an hour played. Hurst Park 1-0 to Arsenal has become one apiece. It's Arsenal's second corner, in fact the only the second corner of the game. David Luiz has gone up to maybe try and get a head on it. Lacazette is there as well, deep in thought, hands on hips. It's Nicolas Pepe with his left foot to swirl it in towards the near post. I think it came off Lacazette last and has gone behind a little goal kick.
They've given another
to
corner.
Crystal Palace, or is it a corner? We're having another close look at it here. Oh no, it came off Ayew. You're absolutely right. A corner to Arsenal. So they only had one in the previous hour, and now they've had two in 30 seconds. Nicolas Pepe again is
got to be better this
over
time.
there. Yes, the delivery wasn't. This one's deep, and it's picked on at the near post and not far away. David Luiz timed his run well, and it was a good header. That's what it is. Anyway, here's Maitland-Niles using his strength well and driving forward for Arsenal. They caught him in the end, and it's won by Zaha. Maybe he can produce some magic, but he went forward with leaving the ball behind. He still has it, though.
I've never seen Zaha pass the ball backwards.
Yeah, no, you're right.
He really has.
They were booing him, weren't they, at one point? They were fed up right at the end of the first half. Yeah, they were disappointed.
He'll normally give the ball away,
you're absolutely right.
And being expanded. He's passed it back so many times.
Yeah,
you know what he looks like? He looks like a player who's not 100% fit.
Yeah.
You know, he might be carrying an illness or something, you know? Doesn't look right.
Actually, let's keep that debate going. Kofi Scooby Bimpe. Zaha is a good player, but I think he's fed up staying at Crystal Palace. Goal from Ayew from Tamer Gulf City. In
sulk, you perform, because if you sulk, this is your interview for the job.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If you sulk, who's going to have you? Because it is, when the chips are down, this is how you play.
Yeah,
there's no good to anyone.
No, totally right. We'll wait and see whether Chelsea, well, we believe it's Chelsea who are interested in signing him. Roy Hodgson's adamant they want 80 million for. He doesn't look like an 80 million today.
There are spells for me where he's been that and more, but in the current market, but at the moment, no. I think it doesn't seem right. I really.
Yeah, he's been off colour today, hasn't he? Definitely.
Completely.
No suggestion that he was ill or injured in the run-up to it.
But it looks like he's lacking, because normally he makes runs and he runs with the ball, but he's not done either of them today.
Nothing at all. Here's Luiz for Arsenal, former Chelsea player himself, of course. Here's Kouyaté on the far side. It goes off Aubameyang and out for a throw-in. We've had 60 minutes nearly. Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 1. Don't forget, Manchester United Norwich is our next live game after this one, followed by a mouth-watering match at the Tottenham Stadium between Spurs. Be listening to something.
If they look at it, he's a goner. If they look at it, he's a goner. That's not a yellow card. Not in mine.
I would agree. And I've got a feeling Aubameyang might have to walk here. Arsenal's top scorer, the man who got the goal for them today. They could afford to miss him for 3 games. Meyer is limping, and it's a pronounced limp, and Paul Tierney is in conversation with Stockley and Craig Pawson and Andy Halliday, and I think Mikel Arteta will be very relieved if this stays yellow. It's another long stoppage.
I don't see why it should take so long.
Well, I don't either, because we've seen it twice. He makes no contact with the ball. He goes straight onto Meyer's ankle, which it looked horrible. It turned it nastily, didn't it? Whether it was vicious and
he's coming off Meyer. He has to.
Yeah, whether it was deliberate and violent, I don't know. I mean, but it certainly was a late challenge that went straight into a player. He didn't get into the challenge, did he, like some? It wasn't two-footed and off the ground. But again, it's debatable, and unfortunately we're having a very long debate about it. Paul Tierney is chatting away to Craig Pawson, who is across London in a studio near Heathrow, and Aubameyang is I think he's going to go.
No, he's not.
Oh, hang on, Tierney's called him across. He's called Aubameyang. No, he's telling other players to leave. Socrates is in his face.
Go away.
And Aubameyang is being called across. Of course, he is the Arsenal captain, and I think he's going to get a red card here. I wouldn't be at all surprised. Palace fans are desperate to see him go, and Arsenal's second half could go from bad to worse. The hands in the pocket, and it's red. Aubameyang is dismissed. Another VAR debate about to start, but the game is over for Arsenal's top scorer. Mikel Arteta is talking with his deputies about how they might reshuffle, but Arsenal have lost Aubameyang today, and of course potentially for 3 matches if that is seen as violent conduct. Paul Tierney is having a long conversation with the Arsenal captain, who's finally removed his armband, which suggests he's accepted the decision, which he has to do, and he is off. Well, he looks distraught, doesn't he? But he looked at it a couple of times, and you'd have to say it was over the top, it was late, it was straight onto the ankle. It was a really nasty one. I'm not sure Meyer is going to recover.
No, whether he meant it or not is irrelevant.
Midway through the second half,
it's a terrible tackle.
Emerick Aubameyang is striding off the field, dismissed by Paul Tierney.
Off to Max Meyer.
Well, we hope that's not a too serious injury for him, and that he makes a speedy recovery. But Aubameyang is funneled into the dressing room, and Cenk Tosun has come on, player who was signed on loan for Everton yesterday. What a opportunity this might be for him to make a grand entrance. He's come on 1-1, quarter of the game to go, and Arsenal down to 10 men. He'll be licking his lips at the prospect potentially of starting his Palace career and making a big name for himself with the time that remains. Fascinating now to see how this swings. It's easy for Arsenal to lack now the sole front man really for Arsenal. Pepe on the near side, 2 Palace players around him, finds Maitland-Niles, Maitland square to Granit Xhaka over towards Pepe, headed away by Riedewald. So Palace have had one VAR ignored, which could have gone in their favour, and another VAR decision which did go in their favour. Now Martinelli, who's a prodigiously talented Brazilian, is going to come on, and off comes Mesut Ozil. Now that's a fairly damning indictment of Ozil.
Yeah, he keeps taking
had a poor game, and he's been hooked in favour of a kid who's
I understand it totally.
18.
I understand it totally.
But it's a good decision.
Well, you see, what you need now is people who are going to run about.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Mesut Ozil is not going to do the work.
Yeah.
He's not going to give you the shift, the energy, the desire that you need, because it's not his game. So, to be honest, he should come off. Because at this moment, they need dynamism, they need enthusiasm. He's not going to give them that.
And that's a good. We were talking about game management and adapting to situations. I think that's a good decision by Arteta. Isn't he? He's not scared of bringing Ozil off.
No, he's not.
He's seen the bigger pitch, and he thought, we just need to introduce a bit of vitality to this 10-man team that we now have.
For want of better words, we've got to have players that are going to run about when we haven't got the ball, when we've got it, and that is not Ozil.
No, absolutely not. All poor ball by Palace given away to Arsenal. Here is Martinelli.
That's a booking.
Who's fouled by McCarthy. I think it is.
McCarthy, I think.
Yes, it is McCarthy, and he's, you're right, going to get a yellow card for that. This one's not going to be upgraded into a red. We've got 20 minutes to go, and McCarthy's gone down, having committed that foul, holding his head. It was definitely a foul. It was probably a yellow card. quite sure how he managed to injure himself.
I don't know what happened now.
To happen.
I didn't see him get a whack on the head.
No, nor did I. He's up on any fires at Goodison Park, did he? Just 10 goals, I think, for Everton. But he's career-wise, he scored 118 goals for his various clubs. I think he's got 16 international goals in 40-odd appearances. And, of course, he'll be hoping...
It's not prolific, though.
No, but what he needs, I think, whereas at Everton he's not going to be...
I don't see it at the moment.
What I also don't see Arsenal getting back in front of them. No, it's Aubameyang.
Absolutely. That spark they had isn't there anymore.
Yeah. Here's Zaha. Can he light a spark? He plays it back to MacArthur. Zaha once more. Near side as Palace attack. Crosses the ball into the Arsenal box towards Tosun. It's headed away by Kolasinac. Ayew, Palace's goal scorer, teases it back to Cahill. It's all Palace at the moment, and Zaha's got a bit of space left hand side. Tries to get to the byline. Clips up, it's blocked by Arsenal. His crossing hasn't been good today, Zaha. On the rare occasions where he has found a gap down the flank, he really hasn't delivered a decent ball. But here come Palace again, and Zaha once more has the ball at his feet. Only needs one, of course. Good cross perhaps to create a goal. That was poor from Riedewald for once this afternoon. Throw in taken quickly by Palace. Riedewald has it near side, finds MacArthur.
Another sloppy pass for Riedewald.
As soon as we said he was playing really well, he's gone to pieces.
Two sloppy passes. Very
commentator's curse.
Scruffy, very, very scruffy at the moment.
Yeah. Fabian X simply says, "We're doomed," with an exclamation mark. Presumably an Arsenal fan. That's a very gloomy prognosis.
Well, they'll be happy if they nick a draw in this.
Well,
delighted if they win.
Yeah.
Gutted if they lose. So there's a lot in this game for Arsenal if they want to go and attack.
Here's Martinelli who's trying to do that. Xhaka has it, centre midfield. Comes out to Kolasinac, back to Xhaka once more. Now Guendouzi. Arsenal are going backwards rather than forwards at the moment with 15 minutes left at Selhurst Park. Now David Luiz and Socrates on halfway. David Luiz again. The game has gone down to almost walking pace at the moment as David Luiz tries to flick the ball forward. And Arsenal have it with Kolasinac into Martinelli. It's the young Brazilian who we know can make things happen. He's a very good finisher with feet and head, and he tried to work himself a little gap there to squeeze in an opportunity. He's got 8 goals in his 18 games for Arsenal, which is a terrific return for a youngster who's finding his way in the game. Although 7 of those 8 goals came in his first 7 games. He's only got 1 in 11 since. Arsenal have a corner. Floodlights are on now at Selhurst Park with the time just after 2 o'clock local time. Here comes the Pepe corner. It's an outswinger. Martinelli can't get there. Riedewald tries to head it away. Granit Xhaka shoots and it hits Riedewald and is blocked away, and then Xhaka brings down Zaha on the edge of the penalty area, and Crystal Palace will have a free kick. Martinelli is a player who potentially could make something happen for Arsenal. Yeah. As I said, he hasn't been amongst the goals lately, but he is a young man with enormous talent.
Strong, quick, lively, good eye for a goal, confident. Indeed. You like him.
He is, yeah. He's got most of the qualities you need to be a very successful player. Now Lacazette trying to win it for Arsenal. Riedewald makes sure he doesn't. Comes back to MacArthur, and Lacazette just goes in rather a cultural fashion from the back, and it's a free kick to Crystal Palace with 13 minutes to go. Arsenal were hoping to get a third successive win under their belts, having beaten Manchester United in the Premier League and Leeds in the FA Cup, and pegged back at the moment.
I think there's a chance in it. Can't tell you who to.
Yeah, I mean, either side can win this game, certainly. MacArthur with the ball in. It's flicked towards Zaha, who's got enough pace to get to the ball at the corner flag and keep it in and clip it in. It's an awkward run for Leno, who got caught again off the goal line by...
It's a handball too.
I think Palace want handball. It was more hesitant goalkeeping. The goalkeeper didn't know where the ball was. It came back over him. I'm not sure who got to it again in just a moment. It was Tompkins, and
That's
then
not in. Great
Socrates has blocked it on the line. They were checking whether it had crossed the line. The answer categorically is no. Goalkeeper came and then stopped, and Tompkins, who scored on Boxing Day against West Ham, almost scored again.
Ball dies in the air. That's the problem for Leno. He wants to come for it, but it dies in the air. It's a great clearance from Socrates.
Yeah, it is. It's a corner. Crystal Palace looking the more likely to win this game at the moment. Ball is chipped in. Oh dear, it's drifted away though, and that's wasted again by Palace.
It's criminal because they've got momentum there. Put the ball in a specific area and let your big men attack it, and that's a let-off for Arsenal.
11 minutes to go at Selhurst Park. It's finally poised. Neither side have played particularly well, but the win is there to be grabbed by either of them. If it stays 1-1, Palace will stay 9th and Arsenal 10th. There's nobody below Arsenal who can overtake them today.
The thing that worries me about Palace is when a team goes down to 10 players, the team with 11 players step up energy.
Yeah.
Just for 10 minutes. Go and actually go and work them. But they haven't done that, Palace.
No, they haven't.
They've played like Arsenal have 11 players. They've not stepped up. They've not shown an urgency. They've not tried to run the legs off of Arsenal's players. Because if you look at Arsenal players at the moment, they're not the types you normally see that are going to shut people down and work and do the ugly work. You know, Torreira and Guendouzi and Xhaka in the middle of the park, yes. The rest aren't that type, but they've not really challenged them, Crystal Palace.
No, you'd think, there hasn't been a massive reaction to the...
It's like they're playing for a draw.
Red card. Ball is back in play. Here's Tompkins, who had that effort cleared off the line a moment ago. Roy Hodgson was talking to us beforehand about the fact that even though Palace started the day with 28 points and in the top half, he didn't consider relegation was out of the question. He still feels that there are points to be won. Is it possible, do you think, for Palace to get dragged into it? They're in a pretty good position. If they draw today, they're 9 points off the drop zone.
Yeah, I can't see it.
No, they've probably got enough to avoid that, but you can understand why Roy Hodgson wants to keep their minds focused.
But the problem that you have then is when you're worried about this, you play survival football.
Yeah,
this is a survival football kind of thing for Palace because you've got a man more. You should be driving at the game.
Yeah.
You should be driving at the game, and they're not. There's no urgency, no tempo to what they're playing. They're not really challenging Arsenal or stretching them.
No, they're not. They're looking for a fourth game without defeat against the Gunners, though. 1 win and it would be 3 draws if this finishes 1-1. We're into the last 9 minutes of normal time. There will be a bit of stoppage added on because of that long wait for the decision regarding Aubameyang sending off. Now then, an ill-advised back heel has given possession back to Crystal Palace, who have it with Kouyaté, and now it's Riedewald drifting in from the flank, but dispossessed by Lacazette. Guendouzi has it now for Arsenal and looks to drive across halfway, but he's Kouyaté. The ball has gone out of play, I think, off McCarthy. It's going to be an Arsenal throw-in just inside the Crystal Palace half. Well, Mikel Arteta, as a player, featured in a game against Crystal Palace in which he scored and was sent off, and he's seen his captain, Emerick Aubameyang, score and get sent off today. Here's Lacazette inside the Palace penalty area. Pepe! Oh, it hits the post!
What a
the
great
goalkeeper
save.
saves it brilliantly and then saves at the feet bravely of Lacazette. Pepe so close to putting Arsenal back in front. It was a right foot shot from just inside the penalty area, low and hard, set up by Lacazette. And then when the ball came out, brilliant block at the feet of Lacazette by Guaita, who I think saved it. And if he did, he tipped it onto the post. We've just seen an angle of that. He got a finger to that. That's a brilliant double save by the Palace keeper, and it could be crucial if they're to hang on to a point here.
There's a chance. Thought there might be. The way they worked it was beautiful, Arsenal. Martinelli to Lacazette, who set it up really well for Pepe. It's a great save, great double save, I've got to say.
Yeah, it was.
From Guaita.
Didn't notice the save at the first because it just looked like it whizzed past him, but it's definitely probably the outstretched tip of his middle finger onto the post, and then when the ball came out, Lacazette You could see he was eyeing a tap in, and the goalkeeper got across him so quickly.
Well, he's licking his lips. He thinks, well, I've nicked a win for us here, and it just didn't happen. Great save.
There was a green blur in front of him, and Vicente Caíta, the Spanish goalkeeper, got across. It was a brilliant save, but Arsenal seem to have suddenly upped the ante a little bit. Guendouzi wins a throw-in on the near side, about 20 yards from goal. Caíta having to concentrate again. We're looking again at this save. It's a good shot by Pepe, but it would have gone
Great
in,
save.
but for that fingertip, no question.
And then very least hit the post and going in.
Yeah, good goalkeeping all round. First of all, agile goalkeeping, and then brave goalkeeping.
Yes, it's good for me.
Full marks to the Palace keeper. It was tremendous play.
But it seems to have stopped Palace in their tracks. There's no real urgency about their play. There's no real direction about their play. It's almost like they're playing out the 5 or 6 minutes to nick a draw.
Well, here's Tosin at the other end for Palace, who gets the ball in, and well defended by Kolasinac, I think it was, who got across Arsenal. The game's become much more open now in the last 10 minutes or so. Here's Martinelli. He's been chopped out by Tompkins. Arsenal are furious. I don't quite
just
know.
Like this rushing around the referee.
Yeah,
I think it's disgraceful.
Yeah, it's
really
it's not good.
Captain can go and speak to the ref. All the other players need to be stepping back. They really do.
Yeah, totally agree. Martinelli is still on the deck. It is going to be a yellow card for James Tompkins.
Yep, it's a yellow card.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a yellow card. He studs it down.
A million miles away from the one that Lacazette,
No, but I think he studs it down.
I think that's why the Arsenal players reacted, because they saw Aubameyang sent off and thought, well, hang on a moment, what's going to happen here? In the end, it is only
the thing
a
about it wasn't boot, it was his shin clashing.
Yeah.
If that's boot, it's a different thing. But you see, Aubameyang's studs were up, and that always looks horrible. But then if you look at what happened to Max Meyer's ankle,
that was, it looked bad. I hope it isn't. Anyway, here's Luis. Oh dear, what is he doing?
It's in keeping
with
the game.
Midway inside the Palace half with a free kick and everyone forward, David Luiz has played an attempt on goal which has probably landed in the car park of the nearby Sainsbury's at Selhurst. They might even have landed on one of the tills. It was an absolute ridiculous attempt on goal.
Well, that was embarrassing, I've got to say, for a player of his ability. That really was terrible.
I mean, he has got a good ability to score free kicks from distance, but that was asking too much. It was totally wasted.
I don't know if he has. I'm wondering how many free kicks he's actually scored.
He scored a few in big games.
I think he's a Roberto Carlos.
Yeah,
I think he is. One good free kick.
Here's Ayew for Palace. Deflected cross.
Get your head up and square it, Ayew.
Zaha is going to keep it in by the corner flag. This game is going to have an enthralling finale, you fancy. Comes up off Guendouzi, comes to Kouyaté, can't get it forward. Guendouzi heads it away for a second time, and suddenly Martinelli, who happily has not suffered any ill effects from that Tompkins challenge, I should say, comes scampering forward, and the ball ends up out of play.
Well, there's a couple of times Ayew gets into great positions on the right hand side and doesn't look up. It's like, I'm going to cross it, but I'm not even going to look at where everyone is. If he looks up and pulls it back, there's players sort of on the edge of the box, just inside the box, rather than in the 6-yard box, because he'd beaten the play, so no players were going to be up with him.
3 minutes plus stoppage time for either of these two teams to win this game. Arsenal coming forward, Kolasinac far side, Pepe peels away, going backwards at the moment. It's flicked away from him by Kelly. I think it's going to be a throw-in rather than a corner to Arsenal. Kolasinac takes it. Here's Xhaka. They've gone all the way back to the halfway line with David Luiz, who finds Kolasinac again. It's belted away by Kelly once more, but here's Guendouzi, centre midfield for Arsenal. Just a nudge back to Socrates, and here's Xhaka. And Guendouzi once more. Arsenal pushing and probing, but making no headway whatsoever at the moment, to the frustration of the visiting fans. Here's Xhaka. Suddenly it might open up on the far side. Kolasinac has it. Oh, that's a dreadful ball. He was aiming for Xhaka, instead went straight to McCarthy. Suddenly Ayew is looking to get forward on the break for Palace, and is sandwiched between two Arsenal defenders and wins a free kick. It's been a huge amount of quality about Arsenal today, has there, really, apart from the goal.
But I think it's one of those games, it's an attritional one more than anything else. This isn't one about fancy football. It's windy, the pitch isn't great, ball's a bit sticky, everyone looks a little bit fatigued, just a little bit. It's about rolling your sleeves up and doing the ugly stuff and hoping there's that little bit of quality on the pitch that might win you the game. Palace with Zaha, but he's just not at it today.
Attritional is a very good word, by the way. Who said footballers were simple?
I'm taking that back.
Paul said before the game, footballers are simple folk.
Yeah, we just want simple instructions. We like simple instructions. You know what I meant.
I do know. I know. Oh my goodness, Luis has nearly lost it inside his own penalty area and recovered, fortunately for Arsenal. And then Lacazette is penalised. I think he's going to get put. Lacazette's not the first time he's done that. I think it's a totting up thing, and Alexandre Lacazette goes into the referee.
Poor
the third Arsenal player. Well, in fact, he's the second. He's the third Arsenal player to get a yellow card, but of course one of them, Aubameyang, saw it changed into a red.
It's poor refereeing though, because Palace had an advantage to get game playing, and now he's allowed Arsenal to get all their men back and get a good defensive sort of starting position.
Free kick to Palace. We're in the last minute of the 90. Jairo Riedewald with his left foot will drive it forward for the Eagles as they look to try and get a late winner here. Away by David Luiz, only as far as MacArthur. Forward by Kelly. It's an interesting ball. Zaha goes down in the box. That's a dive. Why is there not a yellow card here? The referee clearly looked at that with utter contempt and waved his arms. My question is, why haven't you booked him?
He's in a great position.
He does have form with this. I mean, I hate to say this about players, but Wilfried Zaha does have a reputation for this, and he looked for a penalty there.
He's in a great position, the ref, and that's the best thing. He sees it, and he recognises it. He's in a fantastic position. It's not a penalty. I just think sometimes if it's not a pen, then you have to book the players. You're telling me they dive.
Here is Zaha on the ball again. It's a good ball towards Tosun, who loses it on the edge of the penalty area. Palace are finishing the stronger as we enter 4 minutes of stoppage time at Selhurst Park. Here's McCarthy going across midfield and finding Martin Kelly out to Jordan Ayew on the far side. Ayew, Palace's goal scorer today, taking his season's tally to 6. He's the top scorer in a team that doesn't score many. Deep cross towards Zaha. Zaha just gets a touch and it bounces out of play. I don't know if we're going to see that incident. I think we are going to in a minute see that incident again with Zaha. Well, actually, maybe I was a bit harsh on. Did he? Was there? Oh no, I think he stuck his leg into.
I don't think it's a penalty. I don't think it's a penalty. I've got to say. I think you've come together. I don't think it's a penalty.
Dive as much as it. Look, the problem with Zaha is, as I said, his reputation precedes it. We've seen.
I think it was a penalty. I think it was a collision. I don't think it was a penalty.
No, it wasn't. You're right. Well, they were denied a penalty potentially in the first half with a handball which VAR chose to ignore. Lacazette is going off for Arsenal. Applauds the travelling fans. Yeah, he's
not been at his best, but he's put a shift in. The problem you have with Zaha, like you said, is when someone has previous for it, that's where everyone. That's everyone's frame of reference. That's where they go. They look at that and think. And if it's debatable, they'll go against him. And that was just a collision, and he has every right to go down. But one of my old mentors used to talk about good fallers and poor fallers. And if you're a poor faller, you could get chopped down. But because of the way you fall, it don't convince. Whereas on the other hand, good fallers, a gust of wind could put them over, and it convinces the ref to give a pen.
Absolutely. Reece Nelson, incidentally, is the player who's come on for Arsenal. He's not got very much time, 2 minutes probably, to try and fashion some kind of dramatic finale. Now the ball hasn't gone out of play there. It hit the corner flag, and then Zaha has given it away, and Reece Nelson gets his first touch and comes forward. It's a useful ball up towards Nicolas Pepe. Are we going to get a dramatic? He can't find Xhaka, but it's bounced off Kelly back towards him. Pepe, though, is heading down a blind alley at the moment. And again, was that a good fall or a bad
fall? That's terrible.
To back heel.
It's just so bad.
Going nowhere, and then he fell over.
Well, you know what? We've got to start booking players for stuff like that. We have to start booking players for that.
Wasn't it?
That's terrible. It really is. I'm not going to get the ball, so wait for contact and fall over.
Then look around. See, it's like a toddler. They do that, don't they? They fall over, look around to see who's watching, and if they are, they start crying, screaming.
I just think that's terrible. I actually think we need to do something to stop people. Simulation. We book them.
Jordan
and if that means you have to go off, they go off.
Jordan Ayew is down. I'm not sure what happened.
Obstruction as he went to try and knock the ball past.
Yeah,
he's caught a shoulder into his chest.
Yeah. We're in the last minute of time to be added on. It's a third game without a defeat for Mikel Arteta following the victories over Manchester United and Leeds. This one, again, they haven't really sparkled, Arsenal, have they? Very, very good in the opening 15 minutes. And then Palace had the better of the late moments in the first half and early moments of the second, in which they equalised. And since Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang went off, it's been a fairly even game, which I suppose is credit to Arsenal with 10 men.
Shouldn't happen with 10 men.
No.
Shouldn't happen, but that tells you more about Palace and the lack of quality that Palace have rather than Arsenal's stickability, let's say. Palace have not been great. They lack from the middle of the park, they lack creativity.
It hasn't been a very good game, in truth. It's one apiece. It looks as if that's the way it's going to end, because we've exceeded the 4 minutes added on already. Paul Tierney's just letting it continue for a few moments.
Some could ask why.
Prolonging the agony.
I'm putting that out there. I wonder why.
Well, he's still letting play go on, and Palace have got a free kick.
Well, they'll put everyone in the mixer now.
They might as well. This will be the last chance of the game, surely. And
quality ball in the box now.
For McCarthy to try and pick someone out. Cahill's there, Tompkins is there, Kouyaté is there, and what's David Luiz doing? He's taken the ball away. He's got the ball in his hand, and is he claiming that
what are all the players doing?
I don't know what is going on. David Luiz has picked up the ball,
and now he's
which was
away.
In a stationary position, waiting for Palace's free kick. What he's also done, he's time, which is not what Arsenal need.
But he's caused a ruckus that didn't need to be caused. What you do is you go and speak to the ref. You don't go and pick the ball up.
No, exactly.
But he knows what he's doing.
He's decided that the ball is in the wrong spot, which it may well have been. However, you don't take the law into your own hands. No, he's not the ref. He's not even the VAR.
No, he's not. But the ref hasn't dealt with it. He just let it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's given Palace an opportunity, and McCarthy towards the edge of the penalty area, nodded forward. Tompkins!
Oh, it's a chance.
Oh, he's snatched at it. It was an opportunity, half volley, not an easy opportunity on his left foot. He spooned it over the top. Surely that's the last chance. James Tompkins close there to scoring another goal against Arsenal, having netted for them a couple of seasons ago, or netted against them I should say. And Socrates is now down injured, so this game continues. We're now into the 97th minute, with only 4 having initially been
he's trying to get the ref, trying to con the ref into saying he got elbowed in the face. Look,
it's been a lot of that. It's been a lot of unedifying nonsense in this game.
And he hasn't been elbowed in the face. That's the thing. There's been
a lot of silly, horrible play acting and nonsense in this game, hasn't there?
It's
not been a great advert for the press. Look at him. He's saying I was elbowed. I mean, it's absurd. Anyway, are we finally going to get the final whistle? Yes, we do. And it brings to an end the first half, which the second half, and the end of the game.
What are you trying to do? Torture us again?
I can't see another 45 minutes of that. An instruction that I received then. Anyway, it's all over. Arsenal went in front through Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, but their captain was later sent off for a straight red card for a foul on Max Meyer. And then before that, Crystal Palace had equalised down to Jordan Ayew, who scuffed the ball in via the heel of David Luiz. Horrible scruffy game. Sum it up for us, Paul.
I'm going to struggle to do that. Arsenal played really well for about 15 minutes, and even if they got a person sent off, they just didn't perform off that. Palace show a real lack of quality if Wilf Zaha isn't at his game, and this was one of them games he wasn't at it. With 11 men, you thought they'd drive at it, and they didn't. You know, it was almost like they played out for a draw until the last 2 minutes when they did show some desire. But I suppose a draw is probably what both teams deserve.
Yep, I wouldn't disagree with that. A point apiece in a fairly unattractive game. It keeps Palace 9th. It keeps Arsenal 10th. It means Arsenal have gone 3 games undefeated under Mikel Arteta. But, well, again, there was more debate about VAR, a handball in the first half not spotted, and then a red card after a yellow had initially been awarded. Don't forget, we've got Manchester United and Norwich coming right up with Russ Hargreaves and Hogan Ephraim, and then a big game to round off the day for you, Tottenham Hotspur against leaders Liverpool at 5:30. Thanks for listening, thanks for your tweets. We had some great ones today. Good VAR debate as ever. I'm John Anderson. Have a good afternoon. You're listening to Premier League Live.
You've reached the voicemail of Alan Brazil.
If you're lucky, you just